Hello, welcome back, and happy winter solstice to you all. We're here at the end of 2025, Flesh and Blood's 6th year as the greatest card game of all time, and the end of my first full year as a Flesh and Blood player, creator, and overall obsessionist. About this time last year, I was competing in my first ever calling, and what a doozy it was, the first Living Legend calling. Ball Aurora was sweet though, really bad into Starvo, and I could never have imagined where this game has taken me. Literally, physically, and psychologically, emotionally. So I wanted to make a little video and take a look back on Flesh and Blood in 2025, both from a game perspective as well as my own personal journey with it. I may go over some learning opportunities where I think things may not have exactly hit the mark, but overall I want this to be a positive video. It's been an incredible year for Fab on all fronts, and I always love a good excuse to be sentimental. So please grab a nice hot cup of cocoa, make sure you're subscribed, and let's take a look back on the Flesh and Blood 2025 year in review. I want to kick things off with the product releases we saw in 2025. There were some great new sets, the continuation of the fantastic Armory deck series, and some brand new ideas, which, while they may have garnered varying degrees of success and community reception, I still appreciate for being innovative ideas. I love that LSS is willing to take a risk on something like Mastery Pack Guardian with its unique crack shuffle play approach to limited, or even the temporary reintroduction of the super rarity for the appropriately themed Super Slam. Smash Palace was a solid effort at a more casual product that still gives you a solid foundational Fab experience. Also, the purple game boards are honestly rad. So in 2025, we saw the last of the Blitz decks and the Blitz collections with the Hunted, including 4 Blitz decks, a couple of booster packs, a nice little card storage box, and that sweet playmat featuring the art of Pursue to the Edge of Oblivion. The Armory deck series continued its momentum with releases for Aurora, Max, Gravy, Ira, Pleiades, Rhinar, and Arachne. We also saw the first Living Legend Armory decks, albeit at a limited release with Viserai and Prism. The new player offerings gave us a new learn-to-play deck, Smash Palace, seriously, that game board is sick, as well as Mastery Pack Guardian, which gave us a new, very approachable way to play limited. While perhaps not the massive power spike that some Guardian players were hoping for, it still introduced a lot of sweet ideas and has gorgeous Marvel treatments. And then for main set releases, oh, we had some bangers. We kicked off 2025 with The Hunted, featuring 4 new heroes and some seriously powerful new cards. Seriously, does anybody else remember trying to get Shelter from the Storms at the Memphis Calling? Following that, we charted into unknown waters with High Seas, one of the most ambitious sets we've seen in quite some time. A new talent in Pirate, a new class in Necromancer, and honestly one of the best limited environments we've ever seen. The set technically released on the weekend of US Nationals, but luckily LSS allowed stores to sell product a week early, so we weren't scrambling quite as hard to get cards. Those draft rounds were so much fun. Finishing out the year, we got Super Slam, another crazy ambitious endeavor from LSS. First 3 Intellect Hero? Check. First 5 Intellect Hero? Check. Good ass reprints? Oh, Lord. Check. I know we're fully on the Compendium of Wraith hype train right now, but it cannot be understated how much Super Slam's reprints did to bring down the price of the game. So what was my favorite product of 2025? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love how busted Skyward Serenade is, but I do wish Aurora had stuck around a little bit longer. Whatever, she'll be back soon. Honestly, and it feels like a tame response looking back at the other sets, but I think my favorite release of 2025 was The Hunted. I understand that its limited environment wasn't quite as deep as High Seas, but I'm gonna forever be nostalgic towards The Hunted for being my first ever Pro Tour draft format. And I'm lucky it was, because honestly I still suck at limited, so I needed it to be something a little more straightforward or there's no chance I would have made day 2. The hero designs are awesome, and I think each one speaks to a different player type in a really satisfying way. I've been searching for my new main hero since Aurora left, and honestly, Fang has been a pretty strong contender these past few months. We got some ridiculous new power cards in Shelter from the Storm and Quick Dodge Flexors, and let's not forget that The Hunted was the dawn of the Gem Pack, which I think is a universally loved update to the local prizing structure. It might not have the competitive, limited depth of High Seas or the huge swath of reprints from Super Slam, but I just loved this set of the hunters hunting the hunted hunter, or the hunters hunted hunting hunter. Now that we've looked at all the cards we got in 2025, let's take a look at how they did or didn't impact the competitive CC environment and decide on our favorite metagame of 2025. The first major Tier 3 of the year was Calling Memphis, just after the Hunted release, and at this point I had been playing for roughly 6 months and no heroes had LL'd. For this tournament, the perceived best decks were Viserai, all of the Mistvale heroes, and then, do whatever you want after that. Viserai was the first domino to fall during the following RTN season, and the meta quickly shifted into Aurora, Enigma, and whatever folks thought could beat both of those decks, which wasn't a lot. The following PQ and Nat seasons were an absolute bloodbath, where Aurora, Azalea, Dash IE, and all of the Mistvale heroes would ascend to Living Legend. At some brief point during this mess, OTK Scepter Stack Florian was a thing, and then quickly wasn't. High Seas arrived just in time for US Nationals, and there we were hit with the full brunt of the powerful new pirate necromancer Gravy Bones. During this Nat season, various heroes vied for the top spot while all of the aforementioned heroes made their graceful retirement from CC. Once the dust settled, it looked like Gravy Bones was public enemy number 1, Arachne slipped through the cracks, and Syndra were excellent foils to the Gravy strategy. Verdance fought through the mid-range piles, and a swath of other heroes tried to attack the metagame from different angles. Then we got hit with a big old ban list update. Plume of Evergrowth, banned. Golden Tipple, you only get the blue, nerds. Bonds of Agony, see ya. Germinate, yeah, sure, whatever. Florian's bad anyway. They also pre-banned Talk a Big Game, so, lucky us. This was a ban list made to power down the best decks of the format and give everything else a chance to rise up. And it kinda worked. Also sorta didn't. Slippy, dead, gone, and bad. As for Gravy and Verdance, well, Gravy certainly got less consistent, but he still has some of the most insane ceilings we've ever seen. Many Verdance players argue that the Plume ban actually made their deck better, because now they can play an actual headpiece. This may have turned out to be true, as the format turned into Gravy, Syndra, and Verdance, with Arachne Marionette secretly being the best of all, and a whole lot of sauce just underneath the top. Arguably a healthy and balanced metagame, but I think at this point and for the months that followed, folks were just getting kind of tired of it. Super Slam did give a pretty stiff power boost to KO and Rhinar, and it introduced RKO into the format, but these heroes still weren't quite competing with the power level of the big three. So LSS took notice and, in a choice I absolutely love, decided to give us a substantial ban list update before the upcoming RTN season, just to keep things interesting. And boy was it an interesting ban list. Syndra, Verdance, Gravy, Arachne Marionette, and a whole lot of heroes catching strays saw massive shakeups. Also, Kano's gone. Rip Bozo. And this leads to present day, where it looks like Arachne Marionette, Verdance, and Gravy Bones are all still plenty playable, with Syndra perhaps taking the biggest hit of all. But we are seeing that slightly lower tier of heroes start to rise up with the likes of Kasai, Acilio, and Dash.io. At this point, the metagame is still super fresh, so we're just going to need some early RTN data to see what's really going on. Some of my teammates noted that US Nats format as their favorite of the year, and I can totally see why. New heroes were strong, old heroes were strong, most every archetype was represented, not much else to say about it. For me though, and again, I'm being sentimental, but that early Hunted meta up until Viserai LL'd was my favorite time playing Fab so far. There was this beautiful, brief 2 to 3 week period where people didn't realize that Aurora was actually the best deck in the format, and all of the Mistvale heroes were still legal, but I still thought the format was really fun and pretty skill testing, outside of the Arc Lightning high rolls. Honestly, I don't think we really saw a lot of bad metagames in 2025, even if Count Your Blessings and Scepter of Pain were a bit egregious. And the future looks bright. I, for one, am excited for a fresh meta going into RTN season, and the upcoming Compendium of Wraith to give us the full Silver Age release before PQ season. And these metagames wouldn't have been so good if it weren't for LSS's continued efforts to maintain a healthy banned and restricted list. We saw pretty sizable shakeups throughout the year. 2025 kicked off with Zephyr Needles being preemptively banned, as folks found out that Needle Ira would have been far and away the best deck in the format, problematically so. Count Your Blessings went from LSS's vision for control decks to banned everywhere. OTK Stack Florian with Scepter of Pain had a brief moment in the spotlight before Scepter got banned, and since the release of High Seas, we've seen continued efforts to balance the big threats in Gravy Bones, the Arachnes, the Earth Heroes, and Syndra. Syndra has perhaps finally taken a big enough hit to fall into the background, with Wrath of Retribution and 6 out of the 9 Brand with Cinder Claws being banned. Gravy Bones continues to be the resilient board state deck that just won't stop kicking ass. We'll see what RTN season and Compendium of Wraith have to say about that. I've got a lot of mostly positive thoughts about the bans this year. Count Your Blessings had to go, and I only wish it had never existed in the first place. Wrath of Retribution was such an obnoxious and unnecessary power spike for Syndra, and given the choice between that and Brand with Cinderclaw, I would ban Wrath every time. I wish they had banned Flicker Wisp before the release of the Aurora Armory deck, if not sooner. I'm fairly confident she would have made it to Nat season if they had, and can you just imagine how good the metagame would have been if we had Aurora to keep Gravy Bones in check? There's no doubt in my mind they banned Flicker Wisp before Aurora gets her new hero. A premier aggro deck with a built-in 2-card combo is just too strong. They can keep Skyward Serenade unerrated, but let's just make sure Aurora doesn't speedrun to LL like she did the first time. My little heart can't take it. And for one last comment on the bans this year, I'm going to talk briefly about LL. I know the format's on the back burner for the time being, but I think that is all the more reason to unban freaking Rosetta Thorn. Runeblades were still clearly among the best decks in the format when using Duskblades, so what harm is Thorn really doing? If we're treating LL like Blitz and giving them a once-a-year eternal weekend style thing, just give people some toys back. Especially when they have marvels like this. I mean, god damn. Speaking of Marvel frames, this year had some banger-looking ultra shiny goodies. The Arachne Demi Heroes are such a sick collection to chase, and I personally am still looking for that damn Marvel Fealty token. We also got another dope EA Command & Conquer. High Seas introduced the treasure packs, which had everything from special gold foils, to the absolutely breathtaking amulet treasures, to, oh, you know, just personal cards from actual James White's collection, that's all. Seeing folks rip these packs is still exciting. Super Slam has the, it's got the Olympia set. It's also got this freaking grail. But overall, I think my favorite Marvel treatments of the year have to go to the Underdog set, Mastery Pack Guardian. I know seismic surges aren't the biggest thing in the meta right now, but I don't care. Look at these Marvels. Look at freaking Leyline of the old ones. One of the most gorgeous cards I've ever seen. Full Art Shield goes pretty hard as well. And the attacks look rad as shit. All of these are incredible. If we ever actually enter a Valda meta, the drip is going to be immaculate. Do me a big bad favor and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. The algorithm needs to feed. So that's a look back on the game of Flesh and Blood in 2025, but what about my journey with the game? I keep seeing folks post their 2025 accomplishments, how they lined up with their 2025 goals, and what they're hoping to accomplish in 2026. I started the game in late 2024, and honestly, I didn't know how much it was going to become, my favorite thing ever, so I didn't make a list for 2025. But I can look back on what I did accomplish in 2025, and this feels really weird and super self-absorbed, and I want to preface by saying, like, I do not feel like I earned any of this, but 2025 was pretty good to me. I started off with calling Memphis at the end of January, where I somehow made freaking top 4, and then that went straight into RTN season, where I made top 4 of my first attempt and qualified for nationals. Then I went to London for my first ever Pro Tour, where I just squeaked into day 2 on a 5-3 record, and it was also my first time going out of the country as an adult, and I got to meet James White for the first time, and the whole week was just like core memories as hell. And then it was right around this time that I decided to really try and make something out of the YouTube channel. And fast forward like 5 months and, holy shit, man, here we are. We're at like 1,300 subscribers. We've gotten official spoiler cards. I've gotten to collaborate with some incredible people that I never thought I would have had the chance to do. Yeah, I don't know. It's just all become so real so fast, and I still struggle to believe that it's actually happening like every day. And I've got a group of some of the most talented people that I am lucky to call friends, and I'm just so eternally eager to keep making this more and more of a real thing, because, life isn't real anyway, man, so I'm just gonna make my life a card game anime, like I always wanted to. So, yeah, 2025 was pretty good for me. So in the interest of always improving, how do I improve on such a good year? I mean, fuck. The mathematical next step from top 4ing a calling would be to make the finals of a tier 3. Aspirational, possible, but I'm going to be kind to myself and a little more realistic and say that I would like to top 8 another tier 3 but actually feel like I earned it. Maybe the imposter syndrome never goes away, but I am keenly aware that my top 4 finish was heavily subsidized by the fact that Aurora was a really strong, relatively easy to play deck, and I had some incredibly favorable variants. I just don't think I was a calling top 4 level player, and I'd like to do it again and feel like my skill as a player was an actual contributing factor. I got a day 2 Nats. Plain and simple. I didn't have the reps to be a good high seas drafter. In fact, I'm still a terrible drafter overall, and it's time to fix that. I want to win an RTN or a PQ. I've gotten a black envelope from a top 8, but I want to get one from a win, you know? Also, I really want to get on someone's Roll of Honor, and that would theoretically be the best way to do so. Gold Foil, Dread Scythe, Quill Hand, Metacarpus Node would all go hard as hell. I gotta get better at my late game. I can play value hands just fine, but I am barely ever remembering to try and track my pitch stack, and almost never remembering to try and track my opponent's pitch stack, and I'm just bleeding EV as a result. My macro game is suffering as a result, and it's also kind of skill gapping me out of playing certain decks to their full potential. Like, I am terrified of trying to pilot Gravy Bones right now. I want to be good at this game, pretty good, and I feel like I have the capacity to do so, but I have to work way harder to get there. And then we've got channel goals, which, I mean, goddamn, I feel like my 2025 channel accomplishments are loftier than what my 2026 goals would have been. But you know what? We're doing the damn thing, so let's manifest some continued success. 2026 channel goals. 2K subscribers. Boom. A video's gonna get 10K views. Bam! We're gonna get a mythic or legendary spoiler card. Whoopah! We're going to live stream a local RTN or PQ with commentary, player interviews, the works, slam! And the big one, and this is just my personal goal, I'm going to do commentary for an official LSS event. It could be a ProQuest Plus or a Showdown, whatever it is. It's gonna happen, and it's gonna be awesome. 2025 was too kind to me. I'm here to keep it going into 2026 and beyond. You sticking with me? And now I want to hear from each and every one of you. What were your fab accomplishments of 2025? What are you most proud of? And what are you most determined to achieve in 2026? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like the video for my brain stimulation and join our YouTube memberships if you want even more nonsense. And as always, this year and every year to come, have a great day.